Are you ready? Stand by. One of those I looked before. All right. Are you ready? Stand by. It's your finish.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode. I think, gosh, it's 7 at this point of Road to Grand Master. Today we're just going to talk about some ammunition, what I use, what I used to use, why I use what I use now. So, and I'm going to take you along for a ride with me. I'm going to load some stuff here, and I'm going to have you guys with me to load some ammunition today. So, I mean, it used to be when I first started out shooting, anything, I always bought factory loads. I didn't buy a press or anything like that until I really got into the sport. But I used to shoot these, just your standard 115 grain Fiocchi box ammunition. They were just what it was available at Hy-Vee's when I was buying them. So that's what I used, and I had good success with them. I mean, you start somewhere. One thing I did notice is that, on any kind of plate rack or whatever, you hit the bottom of the steel, and it may or may not fall over, just for the simple fact that, that's only a 115 grain projectile. I'm going to turn on my case shooter here, get some loaded. In that, everything was cool with that, and that was fine. You just had to learn how to be more accurate. Once the ammo crunch started to happen, it was apparent that I needed to start reloading. It was apparent really quickly before then that that's what I needed to do, just for the sheer volume of ammunition I was shooting. I mean, even when it was still, 22, 23 cents a round for ammunition, it was, getting expensive to go shoot. And I was kicking around reloading and all that good stuff anyway, so I ended up popping on it. Thomas had made a mention that maybe that's something that I should do, and so I started looking at presses and all that, and Thomas had a Hornady that he really liked, but I was more into what everybody else was using. I mean, like I said, Thomas was using his Hornady, and there's nothing wrong with the Hornady by any means, but I went with something else. Like I said, I went with the Dillon, and I like this thing. I mean, it's been really good. So, and I've been over this before. Obviously, our sponsor for today's video is Big Iron Bullets. Jerry, his guys, I've preached about them, and I'm going to preach about them forever. Their projectiles are really good. As long as I'm reloading, those are the projectiles that I'm going to use, and I usually reload and just for ammunition to use in a match or practice. If I could come across some practice ammo, 147 grain practice ammo, that would be ideal, so I'm not blowing through reloads like crazy. But, right now in today's market, you got to get what you can get. So I went with the 147 grain projectile just because it's heavy, it's hard hitting, it's going to smack steel, it's going to knock it over. Even if you hit a plate rack low, that was one of the major perks that I saw with it. So that's why I continued to use it. Can't disappoint, The powder I use is the Hodgdon Tight Group. I'm using 3.1 grains of Hodgdon inside of my loads, and I'm sinking them. For my Tanfoglio, my overall length is 1.12. I go any more than that, and then I'm starting to get into the rifling, and then I run into some jam issues. So, I definitely got my throat figured out in my barrel. So 1.12 there. On my 6 hour, I can squeak all the way up to 1.13.8, if I remember correctly. It's got a heck of a deeper throat than what the Tanfo did, and I misloaded some rounds yesterday in some practice, and grabbed some of that old stuff that was mixed with some of the new stuff that my son will run through his gun and his SIG that he uses. And definitely got to make sure I keep it clean in a match, but I don't mix up the ammunition because that is a mess. You have to stop, and it really tries to force the round in. So make sure you have your overall length right. Like I said, the reason I started doing it is we were going with Fiocchi or Federal. Federal had some of this target ammunition that Hy-Vee's got in. I'm sure everybody's kind of shot this stuff. It was pretty good. It was lower recoil, feet per second on it. The power factor wasn't as crazy with it. So those were kind of fun to shoot. But again, 115 grain projectile, you smack steel, and it could be a crapshoot. So ammo prices were starting to get crazy. And I said, you know what, enough of this. I'm going to spend the money, I'm going to get a press. Then I can tune my loads. I had shot Thomas's CZ Shadow 2 with some of his loads, and he gave me the recipe. So that Hodgdon 3.1 grains is what I used from him. And it felt good. I knew a lot of it was the gun. The CZ I think weighs a little bit more than what the 6-hour did. It felt really good. It didn't recoil a ton. It was manageable. It wasn't as snappy. Which was nice because it allowed you to get back on target and get your sight picture figured out. And I did it. I jumped. I just dove head first in, and I tried a few different projectiles with it, and I settled with big iron for a few different reasons. One, they're close. I mean, I didn't realize we had this projectile manufacturer. He's an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And that sure beats having to wait and pay crazy shipping to have 3,000 rounds mailed to you. I can just drive down there. Or my buddy David, who you guys have heard about too, he lives a stone's throw away from this guy over in Colorado, and he comes up to our matches every month usually, or when he can, and sometimes I'm like, hey, can you stop over by Big Iron and pick up an order for me? And he does, so there's the perk to that. But then I found that I really liked them. I really liked the projectile. They're clean, they work well. You don't get as grody, nasty. It seems like the coating was more uniformed on them. So that's what I stuck with. Find something that makes you happy. They may work for you, or you might be, the Blue Bullet kind of guy, or Black Bullet International kind of guy, or, even Nosler jacketed rounds. It's whatever you pick, but I mean, for all of you new shooters out there, I've been there. If you haven't made the jump to reloading, it's something to think about. I wouldn't have suggested it a year ago because you would have been waiting for a long time for your press, because with the pandemic and all that was going on, really heavy at the time, the rioting that we saw, just our nation and the behavior in it was crazy. So you couldn't find ammunition, so everybody said, this is the time we're going to get into reloading, man. And you had to wait. I read some guys that were waiting up to 8 months for their Dillon XL 750s, and they were able to get the single stage presses really quick, but the progressive turret presses, they couldn't get them, or they had to wait forever. Once they started ordering, that's when the primers really started to go away, because everybody started reloading again, and the manufacturers weren't used to it. But now, you can get them. You just gotta keep watch. I mean, I usually get about 1,000 primers a month I can find, but I'm not out hunting like crazy. I'm not scouring the internet. I'm just looking with my local gun dealers and my local ammo suppliers and seeing what they have. And, I'll get a phone call saying, hey, I got 1,000 small CCI primers for you. And it's like, cool, great, I'll be in there to get them. So, but still, it's cheaper. I mean, I can't tell you exactly. Maybe I should have done the math, but, what the cost per round is to reload. But it sure beats almost 80 cents, 90 cents a round that some places are selling 115 grain 9mm for. It's half or better. When I first started reloading, reloading my own brass, getting my own stuff there, it was probably 12, 13 cents a round, 14 cents a round, which sure beat 23, 24 cents a round at the time. I mean, every 10 rounds I'm saving $1. Believe me, I was shooting a lot, so it can save you a lot of money. I mean, it could potentially save you even more now if you're be able to find primers from a retailer that isn't really marking them up. So, it's something to consider. I wouldn't dog on it. And then plus, like I said, you can tune it. You can make it so it's not so snappy. Hodgdon, the tight group powder is really dirty. You see my pistol at the end of the match. I'll put a picture up here but the end of the barrel is just dirty. So it's not the cleanest burning powder, but it's good powder. And you can get it, Watch Hodgdon's website, you can order it direct to them. Now you got to pay that $45 hazmat shipping, but I ordered this big 4-pound jug of it a couple months ago just because I wanted to have it, and I'm not one that stockpiles a bunch of stuff, and I only go after the primers when I need them, hopefully I find them, but everybody else needs their stuff too. So yeah, without that, guys, I appreciate it. If you haven't already and you want to, like and subscribe. We're getting ready to introduce a new series, just a practice thing. I figured I'd take you guys with me on my practices I do, my drills that I try in live fire at least once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. We're going to launch that first video on Wednesday. So make sure you hit that one up, follow that, like that video as well. Subscribe to the channel. Some folks are reaching out to me on Instagram. Some folks are reaching out to me on Facebook. I appreciate you guys. If there's things that I'm mistaken on, or different things that I need to be corrected on, please let me know. I'm still learning, and I'm just sharing with you guys, like I said, my experience that I've had so far. So without that, today's the 4th of July. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Come back with all of your fingers and toes, and I'm going to be blowing stuff up along with my kids because I'm patriotic, and it's my favorite holiday of the year. So be safe. We'll talk to you next time.